Well, good morning, everyone. We are today in Saltsburg, Pennsylvania, at the historic Altman Mill, which is right behind me. Jack Maguire is the man who's in charge of restoring it and doing all kinds of good work around the town here. And so I'm going to let Jack explain what's going on here, and then we're going to get to go inside and look all around it.
Thank you, Jason. Now, this is the Altman Mill. It was constructed in 1912, and it's in the process now of having some renovation done. We want to replace all the cedar siding that's over 100 years old and need replacement. So we're doing a lot of different fundraisers to raise enough money to put cedar siding back on the building. So we're going to be going inside and show you some of the equipment that's still intact. What's unique about this old mill, built in 1912, is that the original equipment is still intact. There's very few of these left in the whole country. So we're pleased to have it here and are making sure that it's restored for future generations to enjoy.
All right, let's go check it out.
Okay.
So we are on a walk of the battlefield today.
This is a sign that was mounted here as part of our park project, showing this street looking up this direction. The building you see here on the left side is one right across the street, and where the Point Street Tavern is located. At that time, it was just a one-story frame building, which was John Martin's stonemason shop. And after he retired, his family put a small restaurant in that structure, and business was so successful that they replaced with the existing brick building that you can see there now. That was in 1913. 1 year after the mill building was built, that building was built. And it remained a restaurant for all those years. And currently it's being managed by couples with a business called the Point Street Tavern, which is a great little business for Saltsburg. You can see a building on this side. This is referred to as the Maguire store and warehouse. And Townspeople, Inc., the group that I'm involved in as a director, own the mill and also the Maguire store warehouse on the other side here. And here's an image of one of the pieces of equipment in the mill. That's on the top floor. It's a dust collector system.
I need one of those in my house, a dust collector. Let's go inside the mill and see what's happening in here.
This is the original siding that we just recently primed and painted. This is in great shape because it's sheltered by the roof.
Absolutely, looks good.
This room was the office for the mill. Had a little powder room here, and you see the type of wall covering. It's wainscoting. Again, that's 1912. There's some images there when our group, the Townspeople Incorporated, bought the building. The roof was in dire need of replacement. That was the first project that we took on, was to get a new roof put on. So we're nice and dry now.
All right.
We can proceed in here to see the equipment on the first floor. You'll note there's 6 pieces of equipment that are identical down through here. And you can see the various chutes, if you will, feeding material into the machinery. And you can see all the shafts and everything was belt driven. See the size of the belting here, very, very thick leather belting.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And those are shafts for taking the material from floor to floor into process. And they're all kind of marked what they were. You can see some of the wording on there on wheat, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll open one of these up just to show you. I'll take note that this is an Alice Chalmer equipment. And here you can see inside the equipment. This hasn't been touched in there since the place closed down in the 1960s. The floors are tongue and grooved flooring that probably about 3 inches thick. It's like concrete. It's it's really built like a fortress.
I definitely feel solid under our feet. I don't feel like I'm going to fall through in any second.
For sure. I'm in the process of getting some of the cedar painted prior to being put on, and this is just my workshop now, doing some work on the cedar siding. As we go through the building, there's 4 floors, you'll see, plus there's a basement. The equipment is all on the, as a reference, Point Street's half has the equipment, and on the other half is storage bins that go clear to the top floor. There's 5 large bins, which you'll see here in a few minutes.
So there's a little room here.
Yes, that's a one-man elevator, and it's operated by a rope. So
A rope.
You
pull yourself up. That's the motor, huh?
Yeah.
Does it still work to this day? You haven't tried it.
I wouldn't dare try it. Not without replacing the rope system. Here's one of the scales for weighing materials right here. And if we walk back through here to the back half of the mill, above me are the bins. They go clear up to the top floor. And prior to Townspeople Inc. buying the building, the roof had been neglected to the point that there was no protective covering at all on this half of the building. Water was just cascading down into this area, and it completely rotted out the floor. You can see I had replaced the flooring here because of the condition of the original boarding on here. And back in here, you can see how it kind of tapers down.
Yep, sure.
Part of it's missing, but it tapered down to a center point, and then the material is put into bags. We'll go back to the back where there's still a functional feeder into where the bag would be placed. But to give you an idea of the damage it was done by water, this is one of the key columns here. Down at the bottom here, you see a step in. Yeah. I had to replace, this is a replacement section here. I had to cut out the rotted area and replace that. And as we proceed back through here you see some of the new cedar here ready for priming and painting.
Yeah.
And this bin here is pretty much still intact. You can see how it funnels down into area, and then there's this pipe over to this device, which is a very simple method. You'd have your bag under here, and you'd pull this out, and flour
Fill
would
the bag.
come
Right
out, fill it, and shut it back off.
Nice.
Very simple. Now there's some more modern equipment from this to one over here, which is where there's a cast iron bin there. You can see where the bag would go on that bottom funnel area.
Yep. Amazing. A lot of history right here.
Yeah. You see there's a series of other machinery back here. The main scale for weighing material right here. You can kind of see the weights and so on. And this deck right here, the scale is weighing what's on this platform here.
Right.
So there are doors on this back side of the mill where there's a platform, and they unload the farmers' trucks here and weigh it on here, and then there's some trap doors in the floor where they could pour the material in, and then it'd be carried through different corridors for processing.
So we are heading down to the basement now.
Okay, let's go down and we'll show you the area where the electric motor is located. It ran the whole process, and see some of the physical features of the building here.
Oh my, look at that.
Which is one step below the yellow caution. Here you can see the size of the pillars holding up the floor system for the mill. It's all poured concrete, massive structure, and you see the size of the timbers going across there, and close spacing of floor joists that are really what 3.5, 4-inch thick timbers.
That's back when they built them to last.
Well, I'll say. And look the size of that wheel there up through the belt system.
Yep.
And in here is a horizontal auger that conveys the material. If you were able to see in here, you'd be able to see the fins of the
there we go.
auger.
We got it in there. All right.
I'll show you the size of the electric motor over here. And this is basically the main shaft, one of the shafts here. This is the electric motor that operated the entire system right there. Can you imagine laying out this system here? Somebody really had to know their business to have everything spaced properly for the belts to go from here clear up, some of them clear to the top floor.
I would have to imagine that when this stuff was running, it was incredibly noisy down here.
Noisy and
dirty, dusty, stuff
right.
Flying everywhere.
It's quite a structure. Here's a good view of what those augers, like over in the other room there, we looked at the frame box. This
Yep.
is what was inside.
Okay.
This would be turning and moving material.
Looks very much like my pellet smoker that pulls the pellets in.
Yes.
Very much like it, just a little bit bigger, that's all.
You're right.
Wow.
Well, let's go on up then to the second floor and
right.
see what you'll see. Different equipment on each floor as we proceed upward.
So what was this little room here to the right?
This was the where they had the coal furnace, and you come in, you can take a look. Right now, this is where the water comes into the building. But, so that would have been the coal chute for. So this would all be coal down here.
Oh yeah, in a big pile.
Yeah. And the chimney was there, so obviously the furnace was right there.
So they could shovel it right in here, and it kept all the machinery running.
All right.
Gotcha.
Notice the this bucket that's hanging here.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of unusual. You see the bottom?
I do. It's bulged.
That was designed that way. These are fire buckets that were on each floor. The last thing you want in a mill would be for a fire to start.
Right.
No one's really ever explained this to me, but I'm thinking it's built that way so people wouldn't take them home as a bucket because it would just spill out whatever you put in it. But so I refer to those as fire buckets.
How about this theory? Maybe it was designed so that someone wouldn't set it down and get distracted and leave it sitting there. They would have to finish the job, go dump it wherever.
That could be too. But I
Interesting.
just sense they would be full of water at all times, hung various locations throughout the building. Well, then we'll proceed then upstairs.
All right, heading back upstairs.
Going up to the second floor. First go into this little room here. This is right above the office where you came into the building. This was the workshop. Do any repairs to any of the equipment. You can see the workbench and the very old style vise.
That is a big vise.
Yes. And Altman's
Oh, that's one of the feed bags. Huh?
feed bag.
All right.
Throughout the building, you see these turned wood devices. These are hand hole covers that you take this out and you have material being conveyed inside the square box. And if there's any blockage, you're able to get things moving again. So these are all turned on a lathe.
What are the little picture frame looking things up there?
Yeah, those are. You see various places where there's a glass panel, so you can see if the material is moving all right.
Oh, okay.
And those are part of that
Replacement
system.
viewing ports then.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And look at this handmade blower done by a tinsmith. It's all soldered together and galvanized metal and cog wheels.
Nice. That's when they knew how to make them.
Actually still works.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Reference to this tank, you see there's writing on it, Patterson Mill, Saltsburg. That probably came by train. The building was constructed by Patterson family, and then the Altman family bought it some years later. But originally it was the Patterson Mill. This is my primary table saw, belt driven.
Belt driven. Look at that. Everything belt driven in here.
Yeah. Just point out the workmanship, the pride they took in what they built. Just look at this nice woodwork and the contours and all. They could have just built something very crude, but they didn't. It's almost like a piece of art. I had pointed out the handhole. Here's one as an example.
Oh yeah.
You see, that's where they'd be placed. You could do a visual inspection and make sure everything's going all right. So you can see all these equipment are the same. Again, these are Alice Chalmer equipment. We have an interesting piece here. It's a hopper. This piece of equipment is upside down, but look at the beautiful stencil work on this flower packer and the dates that are on it. 1885.
Look at that. Now is it upside down here for a reason? Just because it's...
No, there's two of them. I don't know the history, but someday I'm going to get them reversed so they make sense. But I don't know the history of them at all.
That is neat right there.
Yeah.
Silver Creek. Flower packer. I see more of those little round plugs up there.
And you can see the shafts. And Mr. Altman told me about one of their duties was to always make sure the bearings were well lubricated, because if they ever seized up operation, the heat started to fire.
Right.
It's all over. So it's like a catwalk across there that could be inspected.
I think I mentioned to you my grandfather sold Alice Chalmers equipment back in the day. I don't remember exactly how far back, but he's no longer with us. He's long gone.
Yeah. This had a silk lining here. It's badly deteriorated, but that's actually silk.
Wow.
Fabric. There's you'll see all these chalk marks with distances on these. Those are related to a fairly recent project that there was a graduate student at IUP, Indiana University of Pennsylvania, whose project was to document this building on film. And the university has this camera that will film complete 360 degrees horizontally and vertically. So the end product, you can set at your computer and do a visit of this mill, and you can be standing where I am and say, well, I want to see what the ceiling looks like, and you can look right up and see any
Yes,
direction you
I've
want.
seen that sort of thing before. Yes, I know what you mean.
And the concept of the project was to replace the existing system of documenting historic structures with drawings. Some people have a very difficult time looking at a drawing that's just one-dimensional and picturing three-dimensional.
Sure.
Here, by having it filmed this way, somebody can really appreciate it and see it fully as it is, as you and I are standing here today looking at it. So that project was done here a few years ago. So that's a valuable asset that we obtained through that project with the IUP.
So can I peek inside that door, that elevator door there?
Yeah, sure can.
Since we can get
You
to
want
this
me to
one.
open the
Sure, go
door
ahead.
for you?
Is the elevator on the first floor? Or...
I don't know just where it is, but it's not right here. I'll tell you.
So
There's
okay. Oh, they've even got a
guard
fence
there,
there,
and you
safety
can
fence. Look
peek
at that.
down and up.
This is the coolest thing. Look at this. Let me turn my lights on. So we got some light there. There we go. Okay, so looking down. And then the other direction. Look at that. And a one-man elevator that went all up and down this mill, and it was controlled by a hand pulley system. That's pretty neat. All right.
Okay, let's proceed towards the stairway to go to the third floor. This is the third floor of the mill. Look at the conduit, how
It's all formed wood.
formed wood with a galvanized tin,
Look at that.
and beautifully done.
Yeah, he said downstairs, he said, work of art. I can see that. And all the woodworking in this building is incredible. And it's a testament to the way that we used to do
I don't
things.
know what it would cost to replicate a structure like this. It would be huge.
No one would know how to do this anymore.
Yeah, and
Not like this. Very, very few people can still do this.
Yeah, that's true.
Now we do everything in plastics and carbon fiber.
The structure itself, the key elements are these the posts. They're spaced around 10 feet apart, and they're all plated together with lag bolts and lag screws. And then point out, you ask yourself a question: how did they bring a huge piece of equipment like this into this floor space? And the answer is, it would be put in prior to these windows and wall panels being constructed. Picture this. This is an open space between this post and one over on this side, so they could just winch it up and swing it in.
Yep.
That's how it was done. If you had to replace one of these, I guess you'd have to cut a hole in the outside wall
Open it right up.
to do it.
Is that more of the silk there that you were pointing out? Is that what that is?
Yes, that's silk.
Wow. And that is ancient silk.
Right.
And with the belt going down through the floor here,
Isn't that something? That's
look at
what, to know where they could do all these different operations, it took a lot of forethought. These two chambers here, this is a form of a a shaker. This large tank actually shakes,
Hmm.
and I'll illustrate that to you.
Okay.
And we have this cast iron tube here, and these are wood so that they're more flexible for the movement here. And you can see where it would go through the process. We'll go to the other side.
Is
where-
this it's like a
yeah, this is good.
filtering? Do they get smaller as it comes down, or
No, it just
they stay the same?
filters through these
Okay.
various. I'll show you this. This has a fine screen and what they call a hardware cloth.
Okay.
And these are like ball bearings with a pad that when it would shake,
They'd move around.
yeah, so it wouldn't clog up on you. And these just fit into these different.
Ingenious manufacturing there.
And here, this machine, last patent was
Look at that.
1898, 1900, 1905. Looks like this is the most recent patent they had on this. So that would be 7 years before this was built, 1912. This building was built. I also want to draw your attention to this auger. Ingenious way it was constructed with these holes so it could be laid out to give both directions.
The opposite. I see that. Yeah. Look at that.
So these little paddles can be taken out and reversed if need be. And although in very poor condition with the silk, this shows you one of those patterns for machine. This looks like
For one of these, right? For one of these.
Yes. And this is like a bedding material that I recognize that they probably had seamstresses in Saltsburg that made these for the mill.
Hmm.
Here's what started out being a tar bucket, and some tinsmith put a nozzle on it and made it into some useful tool that they needed. This is back when you make something out of nothing.
That's right.
Here it gives you a good view of one of the upright supports for the building. The size of that, about 9-inch by 10. And this would be the outside wall of those bins we looked at on the first floor. You can see the thickness is thickness of a 2x.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the width of the board, it would be varies from the lower level being 8 inches wide, 2x8s, then turns 2x6s, and the upper couple levels are 2x4s. And those are all with nails that would go from here down through
Right.
the next several, and that was the way it was put together. It'd take a long time just to build the bins.
Sure it would. But it's solid as a rock when they're done.
Oh, absolutely. Here you get a nice view of the buildings in the historic district here. That was an old hotel, about 1910. It was converted from a home into a hotel. And the small building next to it on the left was Dr. Crawford's doctor's office, and the Stonehouse Museum at that time was his residence.
Hi, my name's Harold Shutter. I'm part of Townspeople Incorporated that has helped preserve this building. And some of the information I know about the building, it was originally designed, all this equipment was designed to run off a steam boiler. That outside, at one point there was a steam boiler outside before there was electric. And the other interesting fact is that all this was belt driven, but the belts, the leather from the belts were mainly made from the bison that were killed off in the Great Plains, and a lot of the hides were tanned in Pennsylvania to drive for the belts, production of belts for the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s.
Wow.
That was one of the biggest reasons the bison disappeared.
For the belts.
For the belts.
Interesting.
For the commercial use of that. And we're very lucky to have this building, and the equipment that's here exists nowhere else in the United States. I think Jack has maybe elaborated on that the Smithsonian has documented this. However, there's no interest at this time in any funding from them in keeping this.
That's too bad.
Existence.
That's too bad.
And it's a shame. The craftsmanship in this is impeccable, as well as the woodwork and metalwork going into it, and it's one of a kind. The structure of the building is southern white pine. Yes. Was brought in by rail. Basically, it was a prefabricated building for the most extent. Brought in by rail, and everything is put together with metal plate, metal fasteners instead of mortar and tenon pins, giving it immense strength to be able to support all the weight. Okay.
And there are so many belts in this place, and just between the different floors, they're everywhere. They
Yes.
were wheels everywhere with these belts in.
Every chute has a belt in it that contains cups to bring product, different stages of the milling process. Feeds and hops and chutes everywhere. Okay.
All right, heading up to the 4th floor now. Eureka cracked corn separator. Check that out. All right, going up.
Come on to the top floor, the 4th floor of the mill. The equipment you see over here, these are dust collectors. So it would collect the dust that's produced on the process, and then that would be conveyed out through the back wall and down to be dispensed of. The structure had to be designed in such a manner that the bins that are on the back half of the building wouldn't have any columns in them, but there had to be a way to support the roof system. So this is one of the cantilevered structures here that achieved that goal. We've mentioned about the plates that splice all these timbers together. You can see these lag bolts. Sometimes they're lag screws. But from here, there's a diagonal support goes over and down to the back wall, and from that goes up to hold the ceiling, so that from this wall, that direction, there's no internal supports holding up the roof system. It's all through these members here.
Is there a platform in there? Is that what that is?
Yeah, there is a platform there, and I'm going to take you up at the end of the floor here to show you that. But that's a good place to see some of the actual construction. This is the top. good view of the elevator.
Ah, okay. All right, again, from the top floor now, looking down that elevator shaft. That is a long way down there. And look at the way these belts bend and twist and go in different directions. They run everything here.
So the roof system here, you see most of this is still original sheeting boards, and fortunately the slate roof held up well enough that it didn't get rotted out. But the other half, which I'm going to show you now, is a whole different story. We had to do a lot of repair. You have to be careful, there are 3 steps here and low headroom. I'd mentioned a couple times about the 2x4 construction, 2x6, 2x8s
Right.
for the walls. Here's a section I had cut out. These are 2x4s, and you can see the size of those nail spikes.
Oh, yeah.
This would be the top here, that you lay down one section at a time, one layer, nail it in, and continue that clear up through from the first floor to the 4th floor. The reason I had to cut this out is that, as you can see, this is all new sheeting up here that had to be installed, and I used sister supports there for the roof. I had to do all that work before the roofing company could come in to put the sheeting on and
Right.
the metal roof. And this horizontal box here would feed the material to go out and down the outside of the building into the railroad tankers, because there was a siding for the railroad right here, so to load and unload material for the mill. The floor you see here, I had to build in order to do the work on the roof. This was the original floor here, but if you look down there, it's all
Yeah,
rotted out.
rotted out.
So it was not safe. It's safe where we are here. I had to build this whole system in order to do the work, to make repairs. And I was telling you about these supports that hold up the roof. You can see it here. You have a huge post here every 10 feet. So I used that to bridge to build this temporary flooring system. So now it's high and dry and in great shape. It's good for another 100 years for that roof. But that was a major task that our Townspeople Inc. group took on us in order to preserve. Had we not been able to buy it when we did, I predicted 2 years max, building would have been too far gone. That wall over there was really in bad shape. I had to rebuild the main supports for that wall to come back to where it's sound and safe.
And maybe it'll still be here for your great-grandchildren to be working on.
I hope so. Yeah. So I thought this, for the time, this would be, in my opinion, a very unique, ingenious way to open up all this space without any supports interfering with your storage bins.
It was great thinking. You gave yourself a a 3-foot raise up to get higher, closer to the ceiling there, and nice solid platform.
The original building materials. And there's a hatch Harold just opened up there. Each Christmas time, we put a Christmas tree on top of this building right over the ridge.
That's how you get to it.
There's a ladder over. The view up there is fantastic.
We are about to peek our head out the top and have a look out the top of the mill where they put a Christmas tree up here every year. And we're just going to peek out, look at the view from up here. I'm going to turn all the way around. Losing my footing there. There we go. Incredible view from up here on top of the Altman Mill, Saltsburg, Pennsylvania. Beautiful little town, very friendly people. Everyone we've met has been just great to us. Look at this place. Y'all got to come see it for yourself. Well, Jack, I want to say thank you very much for the tour of the mill and for giving us access to it, to everything. You guys have been super gracious, and I hope that this video will help you guys out in fundraising and getting the donations in that you need to make this beautiful again. Lots and lots of work in here, and I know you've been spearheading it. Great job, and thank you for your work.
Well, thank you, Jason, for coming out and giving this exposure for us. I want to encourage the folks to go to our Friends of the Mill Facebook site to learn more about our activities, our fundraising for this building. Thank you.
And thank you, viewers. Please do visit their website, their Facebook page. I will make sure that things are linked in the description below, so you'll be able to see that. Please do visit their stuff, and if you believe in what they're doing here for American history, please do what you can to donate to the work. The work is good. I've seen it in person, and believe me, it's ongoing. It's costly, but it's ongoing, and every little bit helps. Thank you very much. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you in the next video.